Ilia Topuria versus the top 5 in the lightweight division. If you guys aren't familiar with the series, we'll be breaking down the top 5 ranked fighters from the lightweight division and seeing how they match up against Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria has been on an absolutely crazy run right now, having two of the best wins of all time, one in Alexander Volkanovski and another in Max Holloway, completely knocking them out and shutting their lights off. And we'll see if that power is going to translate up to lightweight division, and I honestly think it will, so we're just going to hop right into it, starting with the number 5, Dustin Poirier. And imagine the pocket boxing between Dustin Poirier and Ilia Topuria. I mean, this would actually be crazy. This fight would feed families. I mean, in the matchmaking video that I did make not too long ago, matchmaking the lightweight division, I was thinking about putting Dustin Poirier up against Ilia Topuria. But the only bad thing about that is this is Dustin Poirier's last fight. He did already announce that, and if Dustin Poirier were to defeat Ilia Topuria, that would kind of throw off the whole aspirations against Islam Makhachev. I mean, he'll actually have to work his way up now, but ultimately in this fight, I'm going to have to go with Ilia Topuria, and I know what you're going to say. He is the smaller guy, and as Lucas Tracy likes to say, I think Ilia Topuria is going to have a lighter man skill advantage in this weight class. He would chew up the legs. I know he was chewing up Max Holloway's legs, and Ilia Topuria doesn't kick that well. I mean, Ilia Topuria doesn't kick that much. He didn't really showcase that too much before the Max Holloway fight, but he was hurting Max Holloway and taking away his mobility, and I believe he'd do the same against Dustin Poirier. Could see them potentially hurting each other. Like I said, they both have great pocket boxing skills, so they really have to be careful on the inside, especially Dustin Poirier, because Ilia Topuria, let's face it, is going to have the speed advantage. He's way faster than these lightweights, given that he is way smaller than the lightweights as well. Don't get me wrong, if this fight makes it to the third rounds, I do believe that Dustin Poirier's chances significantly increase, because Dustin Poirier has gone 5 hard rounds with the best of them. You know, Islam Makhachev, he got submitted in the 5th round, but he gave him such a war on the feet. One thing about Dustin Poirier is that he has really good recovery. I mean, against Michael Chandler, he was wobbled, I believe, in the 1st or the 2nd round. Ultimately came back and countered with the left hook, dropping Chandler. So Dustin Poirier is always dangerous. Even if he is rocked, he's always in the game. And ultimately, I think this one would be very close. I'd probably give it 55-45 towards Ilia Topuria, and I believe that this one would go to a decision. Even though Ilia Topuria probably has the most power in the lightweight division, I don't think that he will be able to knock out Dustin Poirier. I think he'll be able to use his veteran experience and really wither the storm. And ultimately, I would have Ilia Topuria by decision. Next up, we have Max Holloway, and let's be real, guys. Come on. This fight doesn't go any different than what it did in the featherweight division. Max Holloway at lightweight does pack way more of a punch. He was dropping Gaethje and wobbling Gaethje a couple times in their 5-round fights, so I'm not taking this away from him, but Max Holloway has taken a lot of damage throughout the years, and he also gets hit a lot in his fights. He may have the most significant strikes landed, but he probably has one of the most significant strikes landed on himself as well. This guy always goes into the fire. His weakness is against the pocket boxing. I did make a video on this not too long ago against predicting the matchup between Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway, and I did say that he was going to get knocked out because of his pocket boxing, and look at what happened. He got knocked out because Ilia was close range and because of the pocket boxing. But I do believe that Max Holloway will be able to take it a little bit more to the later rounds, maybe the 4th, but I ultimately see Max Holloway getting finished as well. Moving on up to number 3, Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria, and Ilia Topuria would do brutal things to Justin Gaethje. Let's just be real. Justin Gaethje got knocked out by Max Holloway in one of the worst KOs I've seen, one of the best KOs I've seen actually, but pretty bad if you're a Justin Gaethje fan, let's be real. He is from Arizona, where I'm from, so I'm always going to be rooting for Justin Gaethje, but I don't want to see this fight at all. Justin Gaethje, I know he can take a hit now that we saw that he did take a couple of solid shots in the Rafael Fiziev fight. He did look pretty clean in the boxing, but Justin Gaethje really likes to stay in the clinch, and I think that can really be a problem for him, because Ilia Topuria is great in the pocket boxing range. You know, Ilia Topuria has the best boxing in the UFC. I can't stress this enough. And especially because Justin Gaethje doesn't have a threat of the takedown. He's not going to take you down. Justin Gaethje's bread and butter is staying on the feet, in the clinch, leg kicks, and ultimately, this is something that Ilia Topuria has gone up against before. Justin Gaethje is probably on his way out. He's taken a lot of damage throughout his career, even though his last knockout was his fight against Max Holloway was the first time he went out cold. He's still taken so much damage throughout the years. He was rocked against Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and so forth. So he's taken a lot of damage. The lightweight division is just such a stacked division. It's hard to come out not scathed in a lightweight fight, if we're being real. Though, unless you're like Islam Makhachev, it's going to be really hard to not get hit in the lightweight division. And ultimately, I would see Ilia Topuria knocking out Justin Gaethje in probably the second or third round. Now we have Charles Oliveira, and moving up to number 2, Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. This is one of the more interesting matchups, let's be real, because Charles Oliveira presents a threat that Ilia Topuria has never went up against before. I know, and that'll be the threat of the takedown. I know Bryce Mitchell did take down Ilia Topuria. Be real here, Bryce Mitchell is not a Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, especially showcasing that in his last fight, he has some great wrestling, outpowering Michael Chandler. I mean, Michael Chandler's a pretty short and explosive dude. To outpower and to manhandle him like he's your little brother like that in the fight is definitely something that would present a threat to Ilia Topuria. That's something that he's going to be constantly worrying about, against the strikers, up against the strikers, up against the grapplers. That always is something that you have to worry about. And Charles Oliveira is also very good on the feet. He did drop Justin Gaethje. I know that's not saying much because he gets hurt in all of his fights. But up against somebody like Ilia Topuria, you have to be the one moving forward. You always have to make Ilia Topuria be on the back step. And I think that's something that they're both going to meet in the center of the cage, and then we're going to see who takes the first step back, because both of these guys like to go forward constantly. Charles Oliveira has great leg kicks, so does Ilia Topuria. So this is a really hard fight to break down. The one thing I can say that kind of takes me more towards the side of Ilia Topuria is that Charles Oliveira has been cracked a lot. He also gets hurt a lot in his fights as well. In the 5th round against Michael Chandler, but let's be real, there was a lot of back of the head shots and a lot of illegal shots being happening here. And for some reason, Michael Chandler never gets called out for it. He's such a dirty fighter, man. But that's for another video. Stylistically, this would be the hardest matchup for Ilia Topuria besides Islam Makhachev. I've seen Ilia Topuria be quite weak to the head kicks, and Charles Oliveira has some pretty good head kicks, and he likes to sneak it in there and really set them up. And ultimately, I'm gonna have to go with Ilia Topuria. This one is more so of a 51-49. This can really go either way, because Charles Oliveira can also submit you. Ilia Topuria has shown he does have a ground game, but he hasn't submitted anyone in the UFC. He was originally a grappler, but he hasn't really showcased that too much, at least in the UFC, so we don't know where that's at. It's the highest level of competition, and I can see Ilia Topuria knocking Charles Oliveira out. He doesn't have a good chin. He sometimes leaves his chin open up in the air, and he's not as defensively sound as Ilia Topuria. He has that high boxer guard, and yeah, I'm going to have to go with Ilia Topuria by TKO in the 3rd round. And now we got the number 1 contender, Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. And if Ilia Topuria is able to defend the takedowns, Ilia Topuria is going to have such an easy time on the feet. Let's be real here. Arman Tsarukyan, he does have a couple of good kicks, that could probably catch Ilia Topuria. He does have a nice axe kick that he was showcasing in the Charles Oliveira fight a couple times. But Arman Tsarukyan's not really much of a submission guy. He has good grappling, but he's not submitting the highest level of competition. He's not knocking out the highest level of competition either. I mean, what are you gonna... You're going to base that, you're going to say, oh, but what about Beneil Dariush? Beneil Dariush is not, this guy looks like he's 45 years old. We got a 50-year-old fighting in the lightweight division, and then you're going to give him credit for that win after he just got chinned in the fight before. So I'm not giving Arman Tsarukyan. He did beat Charles Oliveira, putting on a wrestling clinic. So as I said, if Ilia Topuria is able to if he's able to defend the takedowns, I'm going Ilia Topuria all the way. I see Arman Tsarukyan taking this one to a decision as well, if he really implements his grappling. I mean, if he was able to take down Charles Oliveira, I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to take down Ilia Topuria as well, at least a couple times throughout the fight. So I think this one, if not if Ilia Topuria doesn't TKO him in the later rounds, I can see it going to a decision absolutely for Ilia Topuria, eventually maybe rocking him on the feet and having the bigger moments, but Arman Tsarukyan kind of trying to wet blanket him. Now for the main event you guys have all been waiting for, Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. I've been calling for this fight for months now. I want Ilia Topuria to fight Islam Makhachev. I think he's that guy to dethrone Islam Makhachev. At least he'd have the best chances. I know, besides Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, they did have a close first competitive fight. Besides Arman Tsarukyan, Ilia Topuria is probably the most likely to beat Islam Makhachev, or he has the best chances. Islam Makhachev, one thing I like about Islam Makhachev is that he's always willing to take risk. He's always wanting to beat you at your own game. You know, he outstruck Dustin Poirier and then ended up submitting him. He outstruck Charles Oliveira and then ended up submitting him, the guy with the most submissions in the UFC. Islam Makhachev is one of the more exciting champions we've seen in a while. Every single one of his fights is a war. And ultimately, Islam Makhachev in this fight, he might be too big for Ilia Topuria. If I'm not going to lie to you guys, he might be a bit too big for Ilia Topuria. This one, even though I want Ilia Topuria to win, I'm not sure if I just really want to see him fight a contender first to see where he's at in the lightweight division. And then maybe based off of that, we'll be able to see if he'll be able to defeat Islam Makhachev. See where his frame fills out for the lightweight division. You know, we haven't seen it yet. So this is still all questions that we are wondering. This would be Islam Makhachev's toughest fight. Let's be real here. If Dustin Poirier, almost retired Dustin Poirier, gave him some troubles on the striking, I think Ilia Topuria is going to be able to crack Islam Makhachev at least once in this fight. You know, Islam Makhachev always welcomes the striking. I mean, he tries to beat you at your own game. Islam Makhachev also does have a nice, has some good head kicks. You know, we showed that against Alexander Volkanovski, another shorter opponent with the same frame, the most similar frame to Ilia Topuria. I do think 100% Islam is going to be able to take down Ilia Topuria. So this fight, if it does go to a finish, I would lean more towards Ilia Topuria getting a knockout, and then Islam Makhachev's victory would probably be more so a decision or maybe a submission if he rocks him on the feet and then follows it up on the ground. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. I know you guys are probably thinking this is a Ilia Topuria Glaze video, and you are right. I think Ilia Topuria will match up well against the whole top 5 in the division. I very well think that he is capable of getting the second belt. I just really hope that we're able to see the Islam Makhachev versus the Ilia Topuria fight. Islam did say that he was waiting for the Bilal Muhammad versus JDM fight to see who wins, and then if JDM ends up winning, I believe he's going to go up and try for the second belt, and he deserves it. I mean, let's be real, Islam Makhachev is deserving of a second belt. I mean, he's been, but you know, Bilal Muhammad and him are friends. You know, nobody wants to fight their friends nowadays. You know, the Marabs and the Aljos. You got to put your career first if it's up to me, but I just really hope that we are able to see this fight. This fight would be the biggest fight besides the Jones and Tom Aspinall fight. This is the biggest fight you can possibly make, and the UFC is probably going to fumble it. Let's be real. I mean, they're talking about, Justin Gaethje is very likely to fight for the title next. Dana White was saying that in one of the press conferences. What has Justin Gaethje done? I mean, taking the Max Holloway fight was definitely a mistake. He fought the number 12 ranked Rafael Fiziev. Does that merit a title shot? I don't think so, in my opinion. If anything, give him Arman Tsarukyan. If you don't want to fight Ilia Topuria, give him Arman Tsarukyan. I would be more entertained with an Arman Tsarukyan matchup than a Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev. I mean, you know what's going to happen in that fight. What's happened in every single title fight Justin Gaethje's ever been in. He gets choked out. This is just one of his weaknesses. He doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. And you're just going to feed him just an easy win. Man, that just puts a bad taste in my mouth. But ultimately, I hope we can see this Ilia Topuria fight. And that's going to be all I have for this video. Let me know how you think Ilia Topuria will match up against the top 5 in the lightweight division in the comment section below.